Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. If you're feeling like you can't hear me, you can always turn up your sound. I just want to let everybody know that we are recording, so you'll be able to watch this afterwards. So don't worry about whether you might miss something, because you can go back and watch it as many times as you want to. My name's Karen Charles, and I'm just going to take something off of the screen here. That's continue. And I live in northern Vermont. I'm a couple miles from the Canadian border. I'm so happy to be here with you today. This is my very first class that I've ever done with Michaels. And I know some of you know me and some of you don't. But what I want everybody to know is today is this is something that is very easy that we're going to be showing you. And that's what is exciting for me, because I don't consider myself to be an artist. I love playing. I love playing with color and having fun. But for what the kinds of things I do, you really don't need artistic skill to do it. You just got to be willing to play. And I think that's what's really exciting about the techniques I'm going to share with you today. So this is my sewing room. I've got some Pfaff machines behind the camera, and then I have some Husqvarna Vikings machines on this side. And I'm an educator for both Husqvarna Viking, Pfaff, and Singer. And so a lot of what I do involves fabric, but I tend to have a lot of crafty stuff that I do too. So even though I do fabric, I'll use canvas frames, and I use a lot of fabric pens and markers and different things. And I got first hooked into the Derwent Inktense pencils because they were so much better than what I was using. Originally, when I started, I was using regular pencil, colored pencils, and Textile Medium. And it was nice, but I wasn't happy with the quality of what I was doing. And then as I started to play around and I discovered Inktense pencils, they made the process so much nicer, and the quality of what I was doing changed. My skills didn't change. It was just the quality of the products that I was using. So I do a lot. Like, here's a little example. This is done on canvas. And these are the kind of canvases you can get at Michael's. You can do this kind of stuff with the design that I'm going to be showing you today. And we're going to switch over the cameras to the machine because I want to show you a little bit about what we're doing. The design I'm going to be working with is this one right here, but I've shared on the Michael's page, I think there's 4 different designs, because not everybody has a big hoop like this. One of the designs is a small butterfly and a flower that if you have just a smaller hoop that you can use. And then there's a larger design that's got poppies that I'll show you in a little bit. And then this, if you have the hoop size that's in the 360 by 260, which would be basically 14 and a quarter by 10 inches wide, then this would be a design you can do. And one of my favorite things about this technique is the border that I used was really kind of a trick, because I didn't want to take the time to sew a border in place afterwards. So I use my embroidery machine to do that. As we get going, I'm going to throw in a couple of things to let you know what you can do if you don't have an embroidery machine. Maybe you just have a sewing machine and you'd like to use some of these techniques. I'm going to kind of give you more information about how you would do that too. So Felicia, can you switch over to the picture that has the machine on it? And I'm going to get a little bit more of a close-up and talk to you about my process of what we're doing. Yes, whoops. So right now, I've just got to get rid of this message here. This is the designer Epic 2 that I'm sitting. I'm lucky enough to sew on it every day. And what we're doing is I've brought in a design and I brought in a border here. And I'm going to just show you a little bit of a close-up. There's the design and there's the border. Now, normally a border or an applique, we think of cutting away the middle of it. I've stitched this design out in my hoop already. You can see the design is there. And it's already done. And the applique border is set in 3 different steps. So at this point, I'm going to move the hoop forward so you can see here. At this point, if I was going to go and color the design in, this is a really pretty tulip design. It's not one of the ones that I shared, but you can find it if you have any of our Husqvarna or FOF software, and it's probably in the My Sonnet library also. Now, the somebody, I just saw a message that somebody didn't get the link. If you it'll be posted afterwards, but it was posted ahead of time on the page for registering, so we'll make sure you'll know how to get that link for the designs in a bit. This was just a really cute, a very simple design that we have here, and I liked it just because it was simple. But if I wanted to put the border on, I have a choice of whether I'm going to put the border on now or afterwards. If I was putting the border on, you can see I have the first set of stitching here to let me know where the fabric's got to go. And I would put it back in the hoop, and I would lay my fabric on top, and I would use my presser foot, because in embroidery on a Husqvarna Viking or a FOF, you can use your foot control, and it will go around and stitch this border into place and double stitch it nice and firmly. And then I will cut away the middle part of this, and that will leave me the border all the way around on the outside, exactly like this one did. You can see the way I've got the fabric. So instead of me having to sew fabric along the, top and bottom and sides, I created that process as part of my embroidery, and it saved me a lot of time doing that. I'm not going to do this right now, but I wanted you to see how that was done. What I love about this process is, if you would like to keep your fabric in the hoop, don't take it out of the hoop, color it in so that you've got all of the design painted, and then you just come back to your machine and place it back and do the border at that point. So you don't even have to unhoop it if you don't want to. Sometimes not unhooping it means the fabric doesn't move as you're coloring it, and so it makes it a little easier to control. So that's a very simple process. There are some other designs that I've done, like this was a picture of an elephant. It wasn't an elephant, and I took it with our quick design app, a picture on my phone, and then I sent the picture to the designer Epic 2, and it turned it into an embroidery design. So then it's all ready to color in if I want to. I have a couple of others like that. I'm into an elephant theme, if you can't tell. There's another little one, and I've colored in that elephant. And then I have this larger one that's actually a ribbon embroidery design. And you can see how colorful he is. The black is not a thread, it's actually ribbon that gets attached using the ribbon embroidery accessory that works on both FOF and Vikings, some of our machines. But look at how cool it is when you color that design in. And what's even funner is the fabric that I chose is a white tone on tone. And what you're seeing, the pattern there, is actually like a paint that goes on the surface of the fabric. And so when you look at how it got colored in, you'll see that any place where the pattern is showing, it absorbs the ink at different amounts. So sometimes it will be lighter and darker, and it kind of repeats the pattern that's outside in the fabric. If you don't have an embroidery machine and you'd still like to do something like this, I love the idea of printing something on a piece of paper, and try and make sure that you're getting a copyright-free or a royalty-free design. And there are thousands and thousands of designs that you can print and pay for. So maybe a design like this, you may pay for, 50 cents or $1. It's worth it to know you legally have the right to use it. So I like to try and make sure, if I'm going to be using images that I get from the internet, that I legally have the right to do it, especially when I'm going to be showing it in public. But look at how beautiful that could be painted. And so I would put it on paper, and then I would lay my fabric on top and trace it. And we'll come back to this a little bit later, because this works really well for a lot of different techniques. And so for anybody that doesn't have an embroidery machine, don't worry, I'm going to be covering a lot of techniques that you will be able to duplicate with your sewing machine. Now, whether you're doing it in free motion, you could stitch this out in free motion and then color it in. But even with fabric markers that are permanent, you can trace the design and then color it in. Here's a couple of ideas that I've done, and some of this is done free motion. You can see the free motion, and some of it is painted, the sky or the water. But if I don't like the color of what I'm seeing, I'll go in with my Inktense pencils and color them in or change them. Now, Felicia, does anybody have a question?
Let me check with Molly.
Molly,
Yeah,
do you
someone asked, why not add the border in the hoop before coloring? Would this be as easy as coloring in the hoop? Plus you could stitch out while coloring.
So no, that's a good question, because when I did this, I originally did the border at the same time when everything was in the hoop. And then I colored it in, but I was not coloring in the background. So I didn't have to worry about the background fabrics coming close to the border area. You're going to see in a couple of minutes that I'm going to show you a couple of other designs that I did where I colored in the background. And then you would have to be concerned that the ink would travel into the background or to the threads that were used on the outside. And that may make it a little less appealing to you. So it's a personal choice. It's not you have to do this or you have to do that. The first time I did it, I put the border fabric on right at the same time I did the embroidery for the outline of the flowers. And it worked perfectly fine for me. But the next time I did it, I knew I was going to color in the background and I decided not to. And that was the right choice for that design. Okay, we're going to move over now to our last camera. And so, Felicia, if you could switch that over for me. And now I have the design that's been stitched out with no border. You can see what that looks like. And I'm going to just pull up the Inktense pencils so you can see what they look like. Now, I have a very large set of pencils. I started off with a set of 12. And then I very quickly decided that was nowhere near enough for me. So I went and bought the 72 set. And when you look at them, there's 2 layers. And I've pulled some colors out that are my favorite that I'm going to use today to start coloring. But on the second layer, they're just as pretty. And they're all organized by color. And I'm just going to pull them back out of the way for now. We do also have Inktense blocks, which they do something a little bit different. And I'm going to show you how they work in a moment. I'm just going to get this to be a little bit more set there. And for anybody that wants to see how the frame was made, I'll try and come back to that in a little bit. Now.
Hey, Karen.
What? Yes?
Sorry, we had another question. Someone asked if it's okay to leave in the stitch and tear stabilizer. Will that affect the Inktense bleeding?
Oh, well, I'm going to cover all that. So I swear to you. Now, my personal preference when I'm doing something like this is I don't like to have the stabilizer behind because some of it's going to be in here and I'm not going to be able to get it out of the small little areas. So I tend to use a stabilizer that is going to wash away, or I might use a piece of batting. Like right back here, I have a piece of batting. Well, I could put that piece of batting behind there instead of using the paper stabilizer like a tearaway. And then you wouldn't have to worry about having that in or having to tear it away afterwards. So personally, I like to get rid of any stabilizer before I'm at this point. And if I know that I'm not going to be using, that I don't want to use a tearaway, then I will hoop the batting. And there's a lot of fusible battings. This one is a fusible fleece that I have back here. And then I've got my material. Now there's a couple of things that are really important when I'm doing this. Most people think about putting a piece of plastic or something underneath your fabric. And I don't like doing that because we're not working with a piece of board or a really high quality, something you would do if you were doing a watercolor. The fabric, because when it gets wet, the color moves and spreads out. And if you have too much water in one place, it will move quicker, sometimes quicker than what you can take care of. So by having the batting behind there, even if I don't have any stabilizer, when I start, I always put a piece of a very thin batting underneath or another piece of fabric that's exactly the same as the one on the top. So it'll absorb any extra water. This was my very first time I'd ever done something on this rose. This was my learning experience. When I started, I colored in the roses and I used a product that was called Textile Medium. There's quite a few different varieties of them. I've got a couple of them here. You can find them at Michael's. There's quite a few varieties, and I don't have a preference of one over the other. So when I first was learning, I would take a little brush and go around the outside edges of the leaves with the Textile Medium to stop the color from bleeding out. Except that because I didn't know what I was doing, I didn't let it dry. So as I was coloring in the petals, the color still moved out. And it's the same thing over here. And you'll notice there's like a little bit of a stain right here because there's no color. And I haven't washed it. This is exactly what happened the very first time I did it. And I will wash it at some point. You'll notice on the back of this, I do have I have some sticky stuff there. That's probably not the best to show you. I did put a very thin batting. This is a great batting if you're going to be quilting and you want to just make a very light quilt. It's called So Soft Fusible Batting. It's by Inspira, and it's very, very thin. So for me, instead of using stabilizer, that's what I used on the back. And I colored this in. I had so much fun, but I learned a lot from my experiences of doing it. And then the next one I did was these poppies. And I love this. This is the one that I was telling you that I waited and did the border afterwards because I knew I was going to be coloring in the background. Afterwards, I thought it probably wouldn't have made a difference because the thread color I used was exactly the same as my material. The material, the blue, was much lighter. And so I colored in this border with the blocks, the Inktense blocks, to kind of make the color of the border a little bit deeper. But you can see how the color could potentially spread onto the thread. So if I was, say, maybe doing a pink background and I didn't want to take a chance of that color going onto the thread, then I would have done the whole design and then added the border after I was finished. And it's very easy. Even if I had unhooped it, it's very easy to hoop it and get it back exactly the way it was. This was another design that I gave you in the free designs. And then I have another one here that I did. And I had a lot of fun with the butterfly. I just kept it simple. I did blues and just shaded in a little lighter and darker. The design that I gave you is not this big design with the butterflies, although you can find this if you have my Sonnet embroidery, and it is in a design collection. But I gave you a smaller flower that has a butterfly like this on it if you have a very small hoop, and that's all that you have to do. And then I also gave you the embroidery design for the frame so that as long as you have a hoop that big, you can also do the frame design. Any questions so far, Molly?
Let's see here. Someone just asked for clarity around the type of fabric you're using.
Well, a lot of times in the past, if you were coloring or painting on fabric, you would have to use a special prepared for dyeing fabric. When you're working with Inktense pencils, you do not need to do that, or the blocks, or any of the Inktense pens. There's, I'll show you a couple of the others. Here's a set of the pens. These are the same ink, as far as I know, that are in the pencils, but that they're in like a fine line marker. And so these are really good for doing very detailed, tiny areas like in this stem where I might not have the control with the pencil, the colored pencils. And they are all an ink and they become permanent when they dry. So if you are using the product and coloring with it and you wet it, it's the process of wetting it and drying that makes it permanent. So it is an important thing that when you're finished coloring where you want it to be, that you wet it in some way. Now there's many ways of wetting it. You can use aloe vera gel, you can use water, and you can use a textile medium or a fabric medium like I showed you earlier. And so this is just a regular quilter's cotton. It's a Kona cotton. I like that because the fibers are nice and close together, but you can also paint on silk and you can paint on just about any fabric. I've painted on a lot of different mixes of rayons and silks and cottons and some polyester blends. And the ink is really done extremely well. It's color fast and it holds up really well when it's being washed. So I really don't think there's a limit to what kind of fabric you use. But when I'm coloring and I want to use it for some kind of a quilt or a wall hanging, I'm looking for a fabric that's very dense, that has a lot of fibers per inch, you know, like the way you would buy sheets. You have 300 fibers per inch. Well, Kona cotton's got a very tight weave, and so you don't have a lot of open area, where if you were using a very loosely woven fabric, the color's not going to look as solid when you're doing it. Any other questions? All right, well, I'm going to just start. Now I'm doing this upside down, which is very unusual for me. And a lot of times when I'm coloring, I'm really just going to move my fabric. Now you can see if you can see the fabric is kind of moving a little bit. If I had this in the hoop and put a piece of fabric underneath, my fabric doesn't move at all. So for those of you that do have an embroidery machine, I encourage you the first time you do this to keep your fabric hooped. Now, really, it doesn't matter where I put the colors. It's that simple. We have regular brushes that I can use. And these are brushes that are they're filled with water at the bottom, and they're by Derwent. And what I like about them is you can just squeeze them and get a little bit of water as you go. And look at how the color is moving. Now, because it is water, it's going to move and blend, but it will also blend outside of the border of where I want it to go. If I'm going to color the background, that doesn't bother me in the least. But if I wanted to keep that ink inside the leaf, I would have been better to use one of the textile mediums. So I'm going to pour a little bit of this into a cup, because that's tend to what I'm going to use. I can still use the water brushes, and instead of squeezing the water, I'm going to put the textile medium like this as I'm going. Now I can bring the color out anywhere I want to. You notice here how it's bleeding out. Now there's one way that you can solve that, and that is by taking your iron and coming in and ironing it, and then what it'll do is it'll stop the color from moving. So if you don't want the color to move, this is what you do. And just come in here. You can see how nice and sharp a point I have on my iron. This is perfect for the kind of crafting you're doing, because you can kind of get in there and do just one little area without coming out. Now I let it bleed out like that deliberately because I want you to see it. But that wouldn't be the goal if I was trying to keep things and really wanted to leave the background white. Remember when I showed you the first one that I did, this one, I wanted the background to stay white, so I didn't want the color to be moving out. If that's important to you, then you're going to use textile medium instead of water when you're blending your colors. The other thing to think about as you're making choices about what colors you're going to use is most people would think, well, a leaf is green, so I'm going to color my leaf in green, and they will color the whole leaf in one color. And that is what, you know, a 4-year-old does. And when we're beginning, I did the same thing. I would just color the leaf all one color. But what I've discovered over time is it is a lot more fun if you kind of mix your colors up a little bit. Every leaf is going to look different. So I might put part of the leaf as a yellow, part of it is a green, and then I might go into a darker green that has more of a blue to it. And in this case, this leaf is hiding behind the background. So that's the darker area. So I might come in here and add some darker color to it. And I still could use the color on the other side, but you can see I'm just kind of like filling in patches. And now I'm going to color some yellow. And when the yellow and green get wet, they're going to mix together. So it's kind of just a little bit of playing around to decide what you're liking. But you can see I'm not working hard at what I'm doing. And if you do it and you do it lighter, and later on you think, well, I don't like that. The idea with this is you can layer as many different colors on top of itself, and you never have to worry about it being too thick. This is not paint, and that's the advantage of the inks, is if you were using a fabric paint, you would put something down and it would become opaque, and then if you put another layer on top of it, it would be really limiting because it would start to affect how firm the fabric is. It would make it very stiff. Because we're working with inks, with the Inktense pencils and blocks, we don't have to worry about how much we put on there. The fabric is always stays subtle and nice and soft, and you can layer it as many times as you want to. So I'm going to come in and put a little bit of the Textile Medium. And it might seem like this yellow over here is a little bit too strong for some of you. But sometimes you don't really know if you're going to like it or not. I know that if I put a yellow down and then afterwards I decide that it's a bit too bright, then I can shade it with something else. I might come in with a brown or a different shade of green. Like this one here has got a lot of brown in it. Maybe I'm going to put some of this over here. And then I can kind of come back and keep working with it. So I always start lighter than I think that I want to use. And I gradually build up the color until it gets darker. Did somebody have a question about what happens when it's bleeding out like this?
Yes, they did.
What was that? I didn't see the whole question.
There was a couple questions. I'm scrolling up here in the chat. Sorry, Karen.
That's all right.
It says, if you have a bleed out, can you get it out with bleach or something else?
There's easier ways than that, because we have white in these fabric pens. We have some of these that are white that will color over it. And if you don't put too much water on it, or if you use the aloe vera, it will kind of stay on the surface and it will hide the fact that there's color there. So there is also a white pencil that we can go over it with too. I'll just pull it out. Sorry, excuse my hand here. So the white pencil can do a good job too of covering over things and muting it. I won't do it to spend too much time here, but that's another way to take care of that. Now, the very first time I did this, I was really upset that this happened. And that's probably going to be the way you're feeling about it too. And that's some of that's just because you're not used to working with, the paints and the inks and trying to figure out how to get the result you're looking for. What I learned was my first one that I did, and the first one was those roses, I made all the mistakes I wanted to make. And then afterwards, the next one I did, I was so much farther ahead because I had learned what I'd like to do and not like to do. So take a piece of fabric, stitch one of them out, start playing with it, and give yourself permission to throw it in the garbage if you don't like it when it's done. And I know that's heresy. If you're a frugal person, you probably think there's no way in the world I can waste fabric. A piece of fabric like this costs 50 cents. Give yourself permission to play around a little bit, make mistakes, and decide what you like. What I decided, the second one with the blue one, was that I was just going to make a point of coloring in the background. And I'll show you the kinds of things you can do when it comes to coloring in the background. I used these blocks, and they're the same type of thing. They're Inktense blocks, and they're almost like you think like a charcoal, but they're the same ink, except that they're in the form of a block like this. Now you can do this wet or dry, and let's pretend that I want to have my background blue. So because you've got this, you can just kind of drag it, and you see how it's just dragging. You can also go in here with the points and come in like this, but I'll just go in like this and drag it out. And for the background, I'm not worried about being exact. And I certainly wouldn't be worried over here where the green was. I would just put a lot more color in there. And this time I'm going to do something different. I'm going to spritz it with water. And the more you put water, the more the color is going to move. Just like if you were using watercolor on paper, except it'll move much more you have the choice of using like a foam brush, and you can kind of drag the colors where you want to. But the most important thing is you want it to be wet. And I want it to be a controlled wet. I don't want to just pour water over it. So I'll usually spritz it a little bit like this. Now you'll notice here, you'll see there's a line that's forming. That's because that's where the end of my batting finishes, right there. So it's always a good idea to have your batting be as far as you want the edge of your picture, or if it's another piece of fabric, make sure it's the same size, not smaller, because you can see what happens. And that's kind of why I left this here for you. I just wanted you to see what happens as you go and do things. Now I could add another shade. I could add lighter or brighter, or maybe I could just go in and add a green color. Let's see if I add another color over here, another block. And you'll see I deliberately didn't go too close to the edge because I was just laying down the color. Now look at when it's wet. Do you see how much brighter that is? That's going to be a problem because I don't want that much color here. And so I can spritz it and move it. And I see when I wet it, how it starts to water down. And now it's nowhere near as strong. So these blocks are like the pencils, except they're super concentrated. And so you can get a very strong dark color, or you can get a very, very light pale color. If you want a pale color, do it when it is dry. You see how, look at how that nice, that water, that color is just moving around like that. And when it comes to the leaf, I'm going to put a darker color leaf. I don't mind if this color gets onto the leaf, and that made it a kind of a good choice. Now, this was something I did. This is a little design that I did, and I put it on a canvas. It is an embroidery design on, whoa, sorry, the light fell on me. When I did this is still wet. I just did it this morning because I didn't like the results of it. So what I did was I wet it and I just added some more blue color and then kept moving it around just like I did with this border right here. But you can see how soft it's building. If you don't like something, keep working on it, basically is the very easy answer. And if you want it to be darker, then just add some more, but you don't have to do it today. You don't even have to do it this week. You could come in a month from now and say, I wish I'd done something different, and just take the colors and go in and add to it. I'm going to come over here. All right, I'm going to add a little brown here, a little brown back in this area.
Hey, Karen, a couple people are asking, and I was looking at the Google Drive documents of files. What I thought these file formats were in PDF, and it looks like it's not. So are these, can you advise people on how to download some of these?
For those people that are in embroiderers, I have formatted all of them to all the different files, formats that exist. VP3 is Who's Front of Viking in a FOF format, and VIP, but I put in PES, XXX, PES, every format that I had available, including the industrial formats like Melco and what's the other one? Toyota. So I think there's, depending upon the design, if the design is really big and didn't fit your hoop, I didn't put it in your format, but the PDF is a format that is a written document, but it is not an embroidery design. So what was that?
Yep. Nope. I think that clears it up for everybody. So thank you, because I misinformed them. So everyone, I apologize. I'm more the expert from the Derwent side, not the embroidery side.
So let me explain that a little bit more. Okay. So when it comes to embroidery designs, I have software where I can make my own designs, and I can take pictures with an app on my phone called Quick Design App or Image Stitch, and send an image like this, and it will stitch it out as an embroidery, and which is just amazing. But if you have a machine that doesn't do that kind of stuff, I've given you the designs and I put them in all the embroidery formats so everybody could have them. Now, they're asking where they can find the designs. There is also a PDF with written instructions. So the PDF is a written instructions so that you can go and read about it. I didn't just give you, you know, the ability to have the video recorded, but there is written instructions that give you a lot of tips and hints as you're going. And I can't believe 35 minutes is gone already. How is that possible? All right. I'm going to take a little bit more of this. So anyways, so for those of you that do have embroidery machines, I hope you're going to be able to find the format that you're looking for. And if not, all you have to do is send me a message on my Facebook page and I'll try and help you out. Okay. Our machine, the Designer Epic 2, can read all the formats. So it doesn't matter to me what format I do it in, but but I'd be happy to help you if I didn't give you a format that you can use. Just be aware that the larger designs don't work for all of the machines, right? If you have a 4x4. So you see, I'm just kind of playing around and going. Now, in the, I'm going to pull this out of the way for a little bit. And you can see here where it's kind of dried in place. It's still wet and I can still move it. If I really wanted to not have any of this like streak, I'm going to deal with this before it dries. Because if I let it dry and come back in a half an hour, that color isn't moving. That's permanent. That is the process that makes it permanent. So you can take a foam brush and just move it like this. You can spritz it with more water, which will help the color to disperse and move around. But you don't want to let it sit there. Look at how the color can move when I start to do that with it. In smaller areas, I've also got the brushes that I can move. And if I need to go into a small little area like that, that's what I'm going to do. So I might wet it by squishing on the pen and then come in and I can move it around like that. And, you know, I'm not worried because I can come in and I can say, well, maybe I want to add some more green over here. And I'll just come in. And you can see how much darker it is. When they say that it's Inktense, it's because when it's wet, it is super, super intense. And there is so much pigment put down that it makes it really easy to work with. So if I want to move a lot of it fast, I'm going to take my big foam brush and just kind of keep moving it. And I won't necessarily move it all in one direction because I don't want those lines to form. I might move it out like this. And I'm just going to shade in a little bit of color next to the flowers. You can see how I can pull that color in. We're going to go back to coloring flowers next, but I just wanted to kind of give you an idea. So you can see how that's starting to have some character to the background. Usually I don't start with the background. I start with the front and the flowers. But if you're not sure if you're going to like it because you let some of the ink go onto the outside of the flower, this is kind of a way to start to feel better because you can say, oh, that looks pretty cool. I think I like that. And I'm just kind of like playing around. Now, my most fun thing to do with the Inktense pencils, I actually, when I got the set of 72, I let my grandkids, they would color on just like a construction board paper, something that was a little nicer than just a plain paper. And then after they drew their picture, I would give them a big brush, like the foam brush, and they would drag it across their picture and it would turn it into a watercolor picture without any effort. So some of my other set, I have 2 sets. This is my new one. My previous set, that's the one that my kids use, my grandkids, and they just cannot believe some of the results they can get because they're coloring their image, whether it's a Santa Claus or it's a summer scene or the water. And then when they take a wet brush and they just drag it across it, it makes them feel like artists and it really didn't take a very little effort on their part to get the kind of results they're looking for. I'm kind of loving this fabric here. And the next border I'm going to put on this, I'm going to use this darker print. So it should look kind of pretty nice with it. It's going to show up pretty good, I think. I might add some more blue just to kind of tie it in a little bit together. Now, before we go any farther, let's see if there's any other questions. Anybody have any other questions?
No, there's some questions specifically on the Derwent products. And I will say the pencils and the blocks work on fabric. They also work on paper. And if you want to see how they work on paper, you can head over to derwentart.com. And we have a lot of tutorials and demonstrations on how they work on paper. The products are also available on derwentart.com. They're available on michaels.com as well. Michaels carries most of what she is showing you here. So.
Yeah, and the markers, you haven't really seen the markers yet, but I'll show you that in a little bit. So this was a design. And in the beginning, when I was starting to play with the blocks, I really wasn't sure how I was going to be using them, but I found that they were just perfect for doing the large area very quickly. But the other thing that you could do is you could take your brush, your water brush or a regular brush, and drag it down like this and get some very concentrated ink on your pen also. So now when you come in, you can see how much more concentrated that is. And so that made a nice way to be able to get a concentrated color also. So you can use the pencils, the inks, and the markers interchangeably in any way you want to. I started out with the pencils because they seemed the easiest to me, but the more I played with them, the more I understood the value of all of them. Like, say, for example, this is one of the markers, and I'll show you the package. It looks like this, and they're a very fine tip. It's got the same ink in it. So again, it needs to be wet. When you like for it to become permanent, it needs to be, but you can see here, I'm just coloring it in and how dark that got. And what I like about these is because it is such a fine line, if you have a very thin stem where you want to put that color, or maybe you just want to make sure you've gotten it very full and very dark, then you can do that very quickly. And if I was to spritz it with water, it would move just like all of these other colors do. So if you're using the marker for it to stay exactly where you want it to be, you can see my fabric is wet right here. It's starting to bleed out. So I would have needed to treat it with the Textile Medium first to get that kind of, to stop it from moving on it. Now I put a little bit of red in here and I can move it. If this was dry, this brush was dry, it won't transfer the color. But if it's wet, it will move and go anywhere you want to. So I'm just going to come in here like this. Now, this technique is not meant for people who are professional artists. If you're a professional artist, you know a lot of the techniques. You're looking for different things, but there's a lot of people who really feel like they can't do this, and that it takes a great amount of skill to be able to paint and color. And I think it's important for us to realize that everybody's at a different level. Sometimes you might have, somebody who's gone to art school and they're always looking for brand new techniques that are going to make their art go above and beyond where they were. But where I'm after are the people that are afraid of ever starting to try, who feel like you have to be a quote unquote artist to be able to pick up a pencil like this and start to play. So this is not a technique that's meant for somebody who's already has a great deal of art skills. This is for somebody to try that's never done it before. Especially a lot of people that work with fabric, whether you're quilters or embroiderers, we're not used to a lot of times of learning new techniques when it comes to painting. And I think what's fabulous about the Inktense products is that you can really try and play around and get some pretty incredible results that'll impress people. This is the same design, and I added some of the flower. I'll put it the same way as this one is. I added some ink here. Oh, I did it the other way. For the petal. I'm going to make that a poppy, and the poppy is going to be that reddy color. But I started off with a little bit of color, and then I can add more as I go. If I wanted to add more intense, I could take the markers and color it in more often. Now, usually what I'll do is I'll start at the tip of the petal, like where the center of the petal is. And then when I add a little bit of the textile medium, I'm just going to pull the color out like this, just to see if I like it. And if I don't like it, then I can add another color. But you can see how nicely that's shading in. And then I'll come over and add some more color in the next petal. And I'll do it leaf by leaf. And then if I want to come back at some point, I could come back and add, maybe I want to add some orange or another color. Oops, that's a leaf. That's all right. No big deal. So, and when you see some of the colors, there's no such thing as making mistakes. If you take a green color and you put it over the red, what's going to happen is it's going to just make that green in that area a little bit darker. So there is no such thing as making mistakes when you're playing. And I think sometimes we got to give ourselves permission to let ourselves play a little bit and decide what we like. So I went from that leaf, from the petal for the flower, and then I added a little bit of color. And I'm just going to keep building on the design like that. And I'll add some more here. And this is really, for a lot of people, you can see how dark that color is getting by going over it. For those of you that are quilters or that work with embroidery, a lot of what you learn playing with color also helps you decide and makes it easier for you to do a better job choosing fabric when you're putting your fabrics together. And so it's really meant to be something where you're learning a skill, just like if you were in kindergarten and you went to grade 1, you would learn new techniques or new ideas that you didn't necessarily have to know what you were doing. We can learn how to be an artist the same way. And nothing I'm doing here is hard. Really, all it is letting myself play.
Hey, Karen, a couple people are asking how you can control the bleeding outside the lines. Can you talk a little bit about that? Bleeding
is to not use water, use the textile medium. If you use water, it will bleed. Like you can see, look at the marker here. You see where I put that marker? Because that fabric was wet, you can see how much that color's moved. Now, if instead of I would have made sure that the fabric was dry and I would have used the textile medium. So over in this area here, there's no water here. I didn't spritz it. So I'm going to take the textile medium. I'll color it in green. And instead of putting water, I'm going to put the textile medium. Okay. And if you want a little more control, use a brush that you know doesn't have any water. This brush didn't have any water on it. The brush that I was using did. And so now, because the fabric was dry, the color's not going to move anywhere. If I don't move my brush, it will not move. And so it will stay exactly where I put it because the fabric was dry to begin with and I didn't use water on it. If I come over here into this area where I know the fabric is wet, I can still control it by putting the textile medium down, and it kind of sets it a little bit. Or the easiest thing to do would be to come and iron it so that it becomes permanent. So now I'm going to come over here with my green and color this in. And this color is not going to move as much because I put the textile medium down and it's going to control it. I usually don't put the color on the outside, right at the outside of the leaf. If I'm concerned about it bleeding out, I'm just going to put it here and gradually blend outwards like that. Any other questions?
Nope, I think we're pretty good.
So it is, I hope you can't hear the rain that's falling. It's better than snow, I guess, but coming in and I can hear it. So I'm sure you probably can't too. So really the answer is, if you don't want the color to move, where you put it is use the fabric medium. And if you want this effect where the color is going to move and blend, then you're going to wet your fabric, and you can get that first. For example, you could have actually, maybe you wanted to make a fabric that looks like watercolor. You don't have to go and buy the fabric. You can paint the markers, the blocks, and you can make yourself your own fabric by just laying down the color where you want it, letting it dry so it becomes permanent, and you can make your own fabric, whatever color you want it to be. You can even do things like use sponges like this. If you wanted to put polka dots, you could put some of the ink on them and you could bring it down and put polka dots all over. So the Inktense is not just for coloring in and getting designs done, but it's also for making your own fabric. Maybe that's what I find I use it for a lot of times is I might not find the fabric that's exactly the color I'm looking for. So I'm going to change it by adding more color on top of it.
Hey, Karen, just a point of clarification. People were asking if the paint pens are available or part of the Inktense line, and they're actually a separate line. It is, so they work kind of slightly differently. And I was just looking, unfortunately, Michaels.com does not carry the paint pens, but they do have the pencils and they do have the blocks. And if you're just kind of starting into this, I really think the pencils are a nice place to start for sure.
Yeah, the pencils are the simplest thing to start using. I started using the pencils about a year ago, and I have a lot of other samples that I can show you of quilts and wall hangs that I've done with them, but I didn't want to get too complicated with, pulling in too many different things. But the idea is this, it's meant to be a place, a starting point, right? And because you don't have the worry about what your design is going to look like I can tell you, I probably wouldn't be able to paint a poppy and draw a poppy so that it looked as natural as this one does. But by using an embroidery design or a printed image, like a coloring book drawing or something, it gives you a place to start. And for me, it's a lot more fun to be able to have. So somebody asked about the textile medium. This is a textile medium. There's a lot of different brands. So I don't have any favorites for it. It calls it a textile medium. If you were going to paint on fabric with paints, like there's craft paints like this, if you wanted to use a paint like this on fabric, you can do it, but you need a textile medium. What it does is it allows the ink or the paint to be absorbed into the fabric and not sit on the surface and make it permanent. So the textile, it's not what I was, it is something that's readily available, and there's a lot of different brands on them, and one is no different than the other. It just allows things to settle on the fabric so that it's washable. Did that answer that question about the textile medium? Okay, great. Any other questions? We're going to be running out of time pretty soon. We only have another 7-8 minutes left. Is there anything else that anybody really feels like they'd like me to cover again or do some more of? So I'm going to come back to this one where I did the petal. In this, I did a little different technique. I started with the red, and then I put orange around the outside. I'm going to do the same type of thing. I'll put a little bit of red right here. And then I can take a different color. Maybe I'm going to take the yellow, like a light orange here, and color it in here. And I'll do the textile medium with the brush. And then you can see as I wet it, I'm going to pull the color toward each other. I'm going to take the orange color and pull it to the center. And I didn't put a lot of color down there, but that's the way you would start. You would just start by doing a little bit. And then as it would dry, the red is going to blend into the orange. And the biggest hint I can give anybody who's trying this for the first time is we have become a society that so easily can find things online. So if you want to draw a poppy that looks like a poppy, pull up an image on Google, just Google red poppies, and you will get photographs of poppies, and it will give you an idea of where the color's dark, where the color's light, what the center should look like. And it gives me a much better idea of what I want the image to look like. Right now, I'm just kind of winging it. But if I was doing something that was important to me, I would want to have a better idea of what the real flower looked like. The lily over here, I know there's yellow lilies, but there's also stargazer lilies that are white with some pink down the center. So find a picture on your, on Google that is giving you a little bit of a feeling of what you're looking for. And it'll make it a lot easier to get the results that you want. So that's kind of really a very, very simple way of just building up the color. And then I might let it dry for a little while and come back and add some more to it. But this is something, if you was sitting down and just sitting start to finish and only coloring in these things, and you didn't want any color to go on the outside, you would not add any water to the background, and you wouldn't add any water when you're laying down the colors. Instead of the water, you're going to be using the textile medium. And so what that does is it stops it from moving. Now, another option is using aloe vera gel. Has anybody ever seen or heard of aloe vera gel? This is another option. Sorry, I had to go and grab it. And you're looking for an aloe vera gel that has no color in it, and it's 100% aloe. And this works very much like the textile medium, except it'll let a little bit of movement of the color more than the textile medium, but it won't let it bleed out into the surfaces. So there's kind of lots of options. This aloe vera gel is perfect for fabric. It doesn't harm it in the least. And as far as the using the pencils on the fabric, these, I believe and Molly, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that you can use this on paper and that it's really museum quality, that it is somewhat protective of color fast and all of that. Is that correct?
Yes, they're not completely light fast, but yes, yeah, they're definitely permanent. And there's a whole other set of techniques you can do with these products if you're wanting to work with them on paper. We've actually had some other classes. If you look on michaels.com and fine art, you can see 2 other classes where we've specifically covered more with the pencils and blocks on paper. And definitely, I'd encourage you to go back and watch those classes.
Well, and that's what I love about these Michaels classes is they're free. How much better does that get? And right. I started watching some of them, and I was really excited to see how easy some of the things are. Now, some of the techniques are fine art techniques, and I learned a lot from those too. For me, what my interest is trying to get people who've never done something like this to give it a try. And I hope that if nothing else, that you feel like you can maybe pick up some pencil crayons and give them a try. And you can get a set of 12 that'll get you started. But it really is fun, and it adds a lot to your sewing and quilting. And if you've got grandkids, I would be getting some paper and letting them play with it, because one set is gone. I've had a set now for 1.5 years, and they have been just amazing. Now, remember that fish that we had way back when? I'm going to just pull up something to show you that. All right. If you wanted something like the fish and you wanted to trace this onto a fabric, it's a lot easier to trace it onto fabric than it is to trace it onto a canvas board or a very thick one, because it is see-through, but you can get transfer ones. What I would do is use like the micron pens that are permanent. When you've used them, they don't move like the markers do. The Inktense markers, and I would just trace the design. I would put the fabric on top, and trace the design I can see. And then afterwards, I would just choose where I wanted to add the colors. And there was a really good I saw a great video on coloring in a fish like this on your Facebook page, Molly, for the Inktense.
Yes.
And that was so much fun. So like, that's the next thing I'm going to try, is getting into coloring in some different kinds of characters. So we're just about ready to go. And I don't know if you mind switching back to the other camera. I want to thank all of you for joining me today. I hope you felt like you've gotten something that will kind of give you a reason to start trying something new. And who at this time in our, you know, with everything else that's going on in the world, there's nothing fun than trying to give yourself a little bit of a boost and learn something new. I learned to edit videos this year, and I've learned to be painting on my fabric to the point where I just love it. And I hope that you've got a little bit of excitement to try that for yourself. So thank you all for joining me. And it was wonderful being with you here today. And I hope to see you again. Make sure to see me on my Facebook page is Karen Loves to Quilt and Sew, and I'll answer any questions that I didn't answer. I'd be pleased to come, you know, ask me privately or publicly, and I'll try and answer any questions you have that you didn't feel like got answered today. So make sure to look me up, because I put a lot of videos on there about a lot of different sewing and embroidery techniques. So it was great seeing you all today. Thank you for joining us. And thank you, Michael and Derwent, for sponsoring this class. I really appreciate it. Bye-bye.